Okay guys, so Brandon here, or Brandog as some people call me. Just finished a wilderness first aid course about, we were doing wilderness first aid with John Littleton at Blackbird Guides up in Olympic Valley, Public Works. Met a couple cool other folks who are doing backcountry skiing, climbers, mountain folks, people who work at the local resort doing a lot of outdoors activities. One lady named Kayla who works over at Achieve over in Squaw and Alpine, taking out like disabled individuals and adaptive sports on the snow. Anyways, we were trying to get out, and chain control stopped us right at Donner Pass, and they waved us through. I had my Subaru Outback, which I'm driving right now, all-wheel drive. Pretty good, and generally they never let you go through unless if you have two-wheel drive, but we have four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, so they let you through. They just require that you have chains on board. So I'm driving up here with my uncle and my nephew. They are in a Nissan Rogue, and that's just front-wheel drive. So I would have thought that they would have stopped us and had everyone pull across if chain control was needed, but they waved them through. So less than a minute after we started driving, they started swerving on Donner Pass Road, and they lost traction and they couldn't continue the climb. And we couldn't go all the way over Donner Pass. So I continued on because they were behind me, so I couldn't really double back. And I'm now stopped here over in Kingvale, which is like, I don't know, 9 miles past them. And I'm just kind of waiting for them to get picked up by Caltrans, and thought this would be a great opportunity to do my first Insta360 post. Anyways, I am at Shell in Kingvale. Everything's under control. Caltrans sent a bunch of tow trucks that are going to get picked up. They've been sitting around in their car right now, and I got my injured thigh from my spearfishing accident last Sunday, and I've been mostly unable to ambulate my left knee above like maybe above my calf height, so my knee height. So it's kind of hard for me to walk around. I can kind of move my left leg, but if I need to do like a Jack Daniels, like lift up my thigh, there's just no way. So that's kind of hard, but I was able to get their chain size. By the way, if you ever need to get chains, you can look right here, down right here into the side of your driver's side car door, and there's always going to be a sticker there, as long as it's not like some foreign import, that shows how much what your size of your tire is. Anyways, I have these chains, and we're gonna put the chains on when they get here, so that's gonna be fun. The last time I put chains onto a vehicle, I don't know, my dad taught me like 15 years ago. I've been driving a Subaru since, so like I'd never needed to put chains on ever. So this will be a great experience. One thing I can always recommend is learn how to put chains on. It's great knowledge in case you got to put it on for someone else, which I'm going to do this time. And yeah, when they get here, we'll also be teaching my little nephew, because I don't think he's ever been any situation like this. He's just learning to get his driver's license. He has his driver's permit, so I don't know, maybe we'll do some donuts out there in the parking lot. Anyways, yeah, today's been quite an adventure. Learned a lot about saving people's lives, addressing first aid in the wilderness, and how to deal with just about any kind of situation that can happen out in the outdoors, and how to address it in a timely manner, not necessarily analyze the situation beyond like a first aider response, but I mean that's always for like a higher level of care, like a EMT or a doctor. But what wilderness first aid is really great for is it trains you how to evaluate the situation, establish scene safety, figure out the method of injury, and how to stabilize a patient when you're more than like two hours away from any form of higher levels of care. When you're the only one around to help someone in duress, and trying to figure out, is this life-threatening or is it something that you can self-rescue out of, and just meet at the trailhead with the ambulance and everything. So that was really cool, and it was a 2-day course with Blackbird guides. So gotta hype them up. They're really awesome, and I can't say how great it is to how much better it is to have this kind of a class with fellow like-minded individuals, as opposed to there's a lot more other WUFA classes where it's like by the book, you just gotta read and do lots of homework and watch like a million slides. This was like way more hands-on, demonstrations throughout the day, and real-world scenarios, going through examples, hearing other people's experiences. That's what's really cool. You get to meet other people from other sports, other fields of the industry, guiding, to just hobby or to amateur sports, to you're learning everyone had different experiences. Like, I'm a spear fisherman, and they got to hear about how I dealt with my knife cut, like 10-minute swim out into the ocean, and as opposed to like hiking up Mount Rainier or skinning up K2 or something. I don't know, not mountaineering up K2 or skinning up Castle Peak. Way different sports, but all kind of the same concepts, figuring out how to deal with different kinds of shock, how to determine whether or not you need to evacuate immediately, or whether or not the person is stable. And anyways, have to really give props to John Littleton. He's the greatest, one of the greatest teachers that I've met. He teaches with Blackbird guides, not just WUFA. He does ARI, I think, and he does a lot of other training courses. He's also on staff for training at other groups, other organizations, but he lives right there in Olympic Valley and with Blackbird guides. And I've had a lot of great experiences with Blackbird guides. I've gone on a couple of their guided hikes, ski tours, and snow hikes. So that's great. And if you ever need, like, there's other certifications like WFR, which is Wilderness First Responder, Wilderness EMT, and then there's also ARI, which is survival and avalanche training, AVI1 and ARI. There's also a lot of other cool connections that you get to meet through these people. Like I learned today that High Five, which is an umbrella organization that works with Achieve in Squaw, but High Five does more recreation therapy for all kinds of individuals with cognitive, more mental or physical disability, as well as Tahoe Nordic, which is the local backcountry volunteer ski patrol. I used to be part of Tahoe Backcountry Ski Patrol, which is a smaller like chapter, kind of closely related to Tahoe Nordic, but Tahoe Nordic is much larger, more organized, and way more active. They do weekday response as well, so they have a large following in the Tahoe Truckee area near Castle Peak and Mount Rose, I believe, and so they'll respond to first response calls, usually called in through dispatch, and then they coordinate with sheriff's department and other emergency response. But Tahoe Nordic, the way they work, you get your NSP, National Ski Patrol, and OEC, Outdoor Emergency Care certification, which is like an upgrade of WFA, Wilderness First Aid. OEC is closer related to maybe WFR, Wilderness First Response, with a highly focused understanding of how to respond to emergency issues out in the wilderness during a winter conditions. So there's a lot more focus on how to improvise with typical ski mountaineering type or snowshoeing equipment out in the wilderness. And so, yeah, Tahoe Nordic, really great group. I've considered joining Tahoe Nordic in the past, or at least picking my roots back up with Tahoe Backcountry Ski Patrol. If you're ever interested in learning more experience, getting more experience with backcountry skiing, wilderness survival, search and rescue in a winter condition like a storm, that's a really great place to start. Those guys, they'll teach you, give you all the tools you need, so much knowledge, and they're all like-minded individuals. And Tahoe Nordic, my understanding is also that they have a lot larger community of people in the Truckee area. So if you're in the area, they're great people to connect with, and a lot of them are backcountry skiing or doing winter sports outside of their own volunteer obligation, which is, I believe, 10 days a season. So they're practicing this kind of stuff and knowledge quite often. Yeah, and I learned a lot of my skills that I apply every day, even when I'm hiking in the backcountry, not even winter sports, through my ski along experience with Tahoe Backcountry Ski Patrol. And they taught me a lot about how to do like improvised harnesses, medium incline to low incline rescue, how to call in a helicopter and coordinate with sheriff dispatch and care flight on a radio, things like that, or coordinating or integrating with a larger search and rescue or organized search party operation, which is very, very fun whenever you're practicing it. And then when you hear about it on the radio, or if you're actually in the response, hopefully you find the person, but nonetheless, it's great experience. And when it's something small and minor, it actually turns out to be a very fun experience, because you're like organized with all these other people, and it's so rewarding when you kind of get that pat on the back from a good result. Like you find the person and the person's alive, and you were able to apply all your practice and your experience, and it's very rewarding in that sense. Anyways, one of the key takeaways for WFA is Wilderness First Aid. It's a perishable knowledge training, so it's like you got to maintain it. So every 2 years, you got to renew your training, just like CPR and AED, which we got that certification out of this as well. So we just renew it every 2 years. I usually alternate. So this year I'm doing Wilderness First Aid. Last year I did my AVI 1 refresher. So next year I'm probably going to do my AVI 1 again. And sometimes you can upgrade too. Like if you're really interested in it, like there's AVI 2, which goes way more into snow science and longer term forecasting and stability insight. And so you're doing snow science, looking at the crystals, figuring out just how the ice is bonded together, and it's way more detailed, as opposed to just standard AVI 1 and ARI, which is going into, oh, this is how you do a normal avalanche rescue, and this is how you talk about avalanche forecasts from the AVI 2 forecasters, the guys who have the heavy duty snow science background, and they post onto like Sierra Avalanche Center, and they're talking about like different aspects. AVI 1 talks about teaches you how to interpret those AVI 2 level predictions and snow observations to make safe decisions on the mountain before you actually get on the mountain, and then when you are on the mountain, it teaches you different skills on how to interact with other skiers, fellow skiers or fellow hikers who are in the backcountry, entering potentially dangerous or considerable risk avalanche situations, and trying to and understanding what sorts of things you can do to mitigate your risk, or take precautions on your approach when you're in these low to moderate risk situations. Of course, I'm leaving out high risk. So high risk, if it's high risk, you don't want to go out there. It's literally a red flag for a reason. You don't go out in high risk. So I'm saying, like, in low to medium risk, moderate risk situations, they teach you how to properly mitigate your risks or properly talk about the mountain during your approach when you're out in the backcountry. And that changes a lot also with the types of people you're working with, or you're hiking with, their risk level, their risk tolerance. So there's a lot of like psychology and groupthink kind of conversations that you have to talk about, and they touch about that in these larger, or in these like Blackbird Guide or Tahoe Backcountry Ski Patrol ski along courses. So yeah, big props to John Littleton, and thank you for teaching all that stuff. I'll put a couple photos of what we did. We did some cool demonstrations. I took just a few photos. Some of them are about like how we did spinal injury bracing and splints on our legs, and so those were kind of cool, and I'll show you those. It was kind of fun because it's not like a first aid course for EMTs where they actually have real pre-made and pre-manufactured 5-point harnesses and back protectors or backboards. We had to improvise, and so it was like whatever we had in our backpacks, and so it was really like real world situation, and that was really cool. So like in one situation, I'll show you, like all I had was like half a ski pole, a backpack, and two skins for uphill skiing, and I had one tie from one ski tie, and yeah, I was able to rig all that into a legit splint for like a lower femur compound or lower femur fracture of some sort, and yeah, that would have been enough to keep the leg mostly stable, so someone could kind of limp their way out of a situation, hopefully. And so yeah, anyways, I'll sign off now, but I hope this turns out to be like the first cool Insta360 post that I'm going to be putting on.